Hello and welcome back to the channel. Steve here, back on this making good of this ceiling, which you can now see over here. If you want to see how I got to this stage, watch the previous videos because a tree did come through and damaged it quite a little bit. So you can see the whole repairs to the upside of the roof and obviously getting to this stage of making this good. So obviously yesterday was putting in the insulation, cutting out the old bits of wood that are in the way, plasterboarding, getting the light fitted and all that kind of stuff. Today is very much about plastering that and also making the walls starting to look nice. I am actually going out for a sneaky breakfast with the missus at 10 o'clock, so I won't look at the plaster just yet because I'm going to get part way through it and you have to bugger off and then you kind of, you don't want to do it. You want to be around when you're plastering. So that is that. So what I'm doing instead is a bit of prep work. So what I'm doing is I'm basically getting the walls prepared. So I'm using one of these. It is a pole sander. Because I basically built this thing and I plastered it and I've done all the work, the walls were in good nick, minus what the clients just sort of dinged it here and there. So literally just give it a look like this with that bad boy. They do last a long time. I've had that one for about 25 years. So I can vouch for their longevity. Great tool. So giving it all the key in, there was a clock on the wall here. I just put on like sticky things so all the numbers are individual and then the clock face was in the middle and it just obviously turned as clocks do. So what I've done is with that one, a bit of black foam. So I've just literally gone along, giving it a nice rub to get rid of the adhesive on the back. You can see I've gone around and done some filler here, there and everywhere, just where the client's done bits and pieces, just to make it good. So the plan will be finish off the prep work. What I'm also going to do is, you don't really get like gaps and cracks in the corners, yeah? Like this. You use decorator's cork normally to like fill it up and that's perfectly fine. What I've moved over to though, is this stuff. Can you see it? No more nails, okay? Because this stuff is paintable. And if you think about it, when you've got a crack in your thingy, that sounded wrong. Put the gags down below, hooray. This will actually bond the joint as well. So the argument is that, decorator's cork has got slight flexibility, which is great, but I've been using this for a couple of years now, doing this sort of stuff, and I can't fault it. It's absolutely brilliant. So I'm gonna put that in the gaps and the cracks. There's a few like up it and stuff like that, but that'll be it. So that'll be that part done. I then get my scrim tape across this joint. Now, for those of you who don't know what scrim tape is, I shall show you, because it's all about learning and education. So there you go, there's scrim tape, okay? So that'll come off, get taped to that joint across like that, all the way through. And that'll then mean once I plaster it, that joint won't open up or do anything stupid, which we like. So, I'm gonna get that done. The other thing I'm gonna crack on with as well is I do now have, yes, my trims for my fascia. So one corner one, two straight ones for the joint. So in a little bit, I'll jump outside and I'll show you me putting those on as well. There's the little tips and tricks and what you should and shouldn't do with it. So that's it. So I think I'm gonna finish off my bit of filling in here and then I'm gonna jump outside into the freezing gun. Right, I'm braving outdoors because it's like 0 degrees at the second and so literally freezing. I haven't got any air to protect me. So while I'm waiting for the filler and stuff to dry in there, you can see there's the joint. Now, when you kind of get around to sort of buying your fascia like cover caps and all that kind of stuff, so basically it looks like this, like I showed you before. This one I've cut, so as you can see, that little joint through there, goes to the centre, up like that, done and dusted, okay? Easy peasy. But what is very easy to do is you can measure it wrong. So, I know that sounds like a stupid thing to say, but you take that and you measure there to there and you go, oh, it's 11.5. And you cut that off the front of this, you'd end up with the wrong size. What you want to do is, when you take this measurement from there to the bottom, there we go. What you need to remember is that's the internal cut, all right? So then when you take that measurement, you then want to be measuring from that inside part to the bottom, okay? Not from there to there. I know it's only a couple of mil, but it can make the difference between looking good and not fitting how you'd like it to fit. So this one's cut. The way that I fix these is 2-part mitre fast, like this. There's loads, it's just a particular brand, but you can get loads of these stuff. So basically, when all said and done, it's a tube of super glue with an accelerator to dry it. So all I do is take a bit of super glue, run that down, that joint, that side, spray the accelerator onto the appropriate side on here, and that's it. Now, I don't glue both sides, okay? I only glue one, because what I want, again, because it's plastic, it will want to move and adjust a little bit. And if I glue both parts, it's basically going to bind those two sides together, which means it can't move around a little bit. But by gluing it on one side, it doesn't affect the look of it. It's exactly the same finish, but it does mean that this one is freely to move away from this one as it sees fit. Just future-proofs it, stops it from buckling and stuff like that. Not that it really would, but again, you're doing it right, you're over-engineering it, you're thinking about what you're doing. Fantastic. So I'm going to get that glued. I'll then do the same, exactly the same for the corners, and I've got one on a straight joint down there. So I'm going to get those cracked, and then I'm going for breakfast. Right, so a bit more prep work has now been done. I've now got a full belly, thank you very much, full English fry up. Oh yes, with a cup of coffee, done. So, scrim tape is now in. Da-da-da. Bucket of plaster is knocked up. Got me Hulk, not Chesney. And got me two blades. So I've got the smaller one, which I used to like put the first scratch coat on, and then the wider one for finishing and making good. All your plasters out there, yeah, there's much better equipment out there by a long shot. This is just a basic. Again, I've had this stuff for donkey's years. But it does me, you know, what I'm working with, and it's happy days. So, all right, so I'm gonna get this first scratch coat on, which basically means you just put a thin layer on, just to make sure it's nice and tight, it's actually on the surface. And then you give it another coat after that, which then gives you the thickness as well. So just make sure you've got a nice good bond to the first surface. So, right, I've also taken the light out, just to make my life slightly easier. So the cable's now just in there, hiding, high cables. And that's all obviously isolated the switch and the main fuse board as well. So that's it, time to get some plastering done. So, I've begun the first coat. There you go, look. That's nice, isn't it? The tip for this is, don't rush it, take your time. In fact, if you don't know what you're doing with plastering, a little spot like this could be quite a good little practice zone, because you're not doing a whole ceiling, you've got plenty of time to work with it. And so it kind of gives you an opportunity to have a little play. So, you know, again, there's loads of videos on how to plaster. Have a look at those first on YouTube. Find one that you like, find that kind of gives you a bit of confidence, and then, yeah, just have a go. But a nice little space like this is beautiful. The trick is, so when I took the planer down and kind of chopped it in so I can get the scrim tape out, so you can't see the scrim tape now, all hidden, is when you get the first coat on, obviously the plaster overlaps here, but what you want to do is make sure quite quickly you kind of bring it back so you've got a nice level. So there's no basically bulbous bits here which will create a bulge on the finish. So all you do is you just wet it up. So I've got like a garden spray which I use to wet. So just pump that up, give it a little light spray, and then I'll get a 2-inch brush and literally just whop it around. And basically what the brush does, it just disintegrates the wet plaster and pushes it around, and then gets rid of that little lumpy bit. Then I'll get my little blade again and just wipe it across, just to pull it, just to kind of bring those two areas completely level and smooth with each other. So now that's kind of the first set done. I'll let that set. And now as I work towards a finish, so you can see there's the definitive line between the old ceiling and the new. So I now know there'll be no bulge in either direction. It's gonna look neat, it's gonna look seamless. It's gonna be beautiful. Very beautiful. So what I'm gonna do now is, down the joints here, where I siliconed it to finish, it kind of just left a bit of a shine on the paintwork. It's kind of like cross between the two. Like if you silicone up against a paint surface, it can then create a little shine, which is fine until you go to paint it again. And then of course, my paint on top of that would just blister, and we call it zinging in the trade, just kind of comes away. So what I've done is, you can see here, it's the first coat, and basically I'm just painting on stain block. And what that'll do is that'll seal over the silicone and allow my new paint that I'm about to put on to have something to stick to. Beautiful, but I can only get one coat on, so I'm gonna get another coat down first. That'll finish that, and it'll be painting, starting to cut in. I will, of course, keep away from this zone for a bit, because there'll be a bit of splashing and kind of finish it off and that. So yeah, I don't want to get too far at that, but this end of it, I can start like getting this wall all painted and looking very nice. Also, maybe get the ceiling started as well, get the paint out, let's start getting moving. Perfect. Right, so that is the plastering now plastered and done and looking very, very nice. There's a bit of a blowout here, obviously where the tree trunk must have come in and just blowed the plaster, so I scraped it out and skimmed that in again as well. But yeah, that is nice, and I've got a lovely heater in here, so that's nice and hard already. As you can see, the walls have now had their first coat, so they're all now dry. Obviously I haven't done a green yet, I am only one man. So that is officially looking a bit neat, a bit nicer and a bit brighter. So as long as you don't get hit by a tree again, this would be a good one. So what I do is grab a quick cup of tea, and then I'll come back in, give the walls another coat, and yeah, see how I get on from stage. Right, I think we call that a success. Check this out. Whoa, where did it go? So there you go, it managed to dry so fast, because I've got this heater on full blast, that is now completely dry. Let's have 3 coats, and I can't tell where the new bit starts and the old bit finishes. So I count that as a good repair. There is a little lump there, that's going to get knocked out and filled tomorrow. There's a couple of those on the wall as well. After painting, you kind of pick up these bits. Knock those bits out on Monday, get them filled, touched up, done. This one will be done on Monday, finished off. Get the skirtings all coated up as well. So very chuffed, very chuffed. It looks absolutely bloody lovely. So I'm really chuffed. I hope you enjoyed the series on this one. I hope it's done you a few favours. You learned a few little tips and tricks. Any questions, leave them down below. But apart from that, I'll see you all soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, all those bits of jazz. And I'll see you next week on Monday. Have a nice weekend.